Guys, deluded, I'm back again. YouTube's Lucas Torreira. You guys know I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'm a football fan first, and I talk about a lot of things. Some things that don't necessarily interest me, and some things that directly do, specifically youth football. And one thing I hate, again, now you're obviously here because you've read the misleading catchline of the video title, but one thing I hate is false narratives. Is there a pathway at Spurs? Yes. Do they do great things for kids? Yes. If I was a young player at Spurs, would I believe I have chances and I have a manager that believes in me and a club that's ethos is very reliant on that? AEG, Harry Kane and things like that. And if it's not players that have come through the academy, Dele Alli made a lot of appearances for MK Dons, took it from the lower leagues to now playing Premier League. So especially if I was a British-based young player, I believe I have chances at Spurs away. And on top of that, they're in the Champions League and all them things that makes a club attractive. I would believe I have chances. But the false narrative I personally have hated is one that the media, it's not even Spurs fans or anyone connected with the club, it's the media. It doesn't matter if you're a player in your early 20s, let's say up until 24, that for whatever reason you're considered a rough diamond, whether it's been through injuries, whether you just need to learn how to score. You know them players, people, that if they could just fix this, they'll be that. They're always told, go and play for Poch. Any young 16-year-old that's linked with Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, United is play for Poch, there's a clear pathway, etc. And again, that's not true. But the false narrative is it's no easier at Spurs than it is at any other top six side. Of course it is. Clearly you'll get more chances at Spurs than you will get at City. But does the stats back it up? Because there's Byram Diaz, there's Foden and all them people that have played minutes for City versus Spurs. So I don't know if what I'm saying there is true. But it's no, like, the top six all have a... My point of that video I made where I even said Pochettino is his record with youth overrated in my previous 7 months or so ago. It wasn't to get at Poch, it's to get at this narrative. It's ridiculously hard to bring through one kid top six side because, I mean, if any... It used to be a top four and that was hard enough. But the top six, if Spurs were to say, all right, cool, we've had a couple of years where we've been very competitive in these things. Let's just focus on the likes of Skip, who I like, and all of these sort of players. And let's put them in the side for 10 games to 38 games based on the Premier League. They're going to have great games, they're going to have bad games. Spurs could do that, and they could bring through a Spurs La Masia of heavily infield-based kids, but at some point it will make them less competitive and they'll go backwards and things like that. Will fans have the patience for that? Will fans quite frankly care? Yes, we all want our clubs to develop players, but to a degree you need to decide if your club is going to be some sort of farm that reproduces a lot of cattle that's sold on, or one that competes. The hardest job is to balance them. That's why even one academy-based player coming through is an amazing achievement. He's done great work with the current existing core of Spurs players, Winks in particular. But past Winks, you're struggling and scratching your head if you're looking for players that have really broke through. Onomar and all these guys are on the cusp, and it remains to be seen. And when you look into it, despite of my praise for Spurs, if you look at Rio Griffin, who's highly rated by Spurs fans, he's now gone to Lyon on the basis of a pathway and what they do for young players. Ironically, he could be replacing Goubels, who left for Monaco. Obviously, they lost Noddy, who went to PSV. Keenan Bennett went to Gladbach. So that's 3 young players with... definitely, maybe not Bennett. He played quite well in the youth league, but I haven't seen Spurs say he can be like that. Based on definitely Noni and definitely Rio Griffiths prospects of personally getting first team in the near future. So if they're leaving, this is happening at all clubs. Arsenal, yeah, we've had great times bringing Maitland-Niles, Nelson, and Nketiah's on the cusp, and Joe Willock's played a decent amount of times. But past that, and the Wolbies obviously come through, but past that, you're seeing Jeff, you're seeing Gnabry, you're seeing Marlon, you're seeing a shitload of players, pardon my language, depart the club. You're seeing that City, yes, they've got great players, but you're seeing whether you believe them young players can go through or not. They're seeing young players depart that club. Allegedly, even Byram Diaz is having second thoughts about signing a new deal. United, some players have departed, and it remains to be seen. They've got some great players like Shong, Mason Greenwood off the top of my head, Gomez, who made his debut under Jose. It remains to be seen how these players kick on, but there's some great talent there. Liverpool, I'm onto them for Ben Woodburn. I believe he's a great young player, and I know they're a bit linked with Fekir and they've got some great attacking prospects, but that's a player I would have brought through to the first team. I'm not suggesting I know more than Poch or Klopp or any of these players. I'm just highlighting the fact that there's a problem at all clubs. Chelsea, I don't need to explain to you. Chelsea's one's well documented. Obviously, Hudson-Odoi is getting chances under Sarri, and I hope that continues, to be fair with you. And obviously, Liverpool as well. I have to hail up them for Trent Arnold. But again, this isn't a dig at Spurs because, I mean, Poch laid down. Poch always will give young players chances. It's just Poch doesn't bring through young players more than anyone else within reason is all my point I'm trying to make. You see him, he's playing a lot of young players in pre-season. Again, I'm not following Spurs eye for eye, but I'm so sure Skip's got decent minutes, and around 6 or 7 other young players have collectively got minutes. And I know he G'd them up in the press before pre-season and said they've got chances. Whether he honestly believes they're immediately ready or not, that's good for them, because it's showing them that the manager believes in them. It's not letting them play their natural game, and knowing that if he believes in them, there's no such thing as your age being a barrier, sort of thing. My point just was to simply suggest that Pochettino left, right and centre is producing all these kids and they're doing all of this is simply false, and I'll always talk about these things. There's some great young players at Spurs, and they're going to get chances, but to suggest that they're massively given chances over everybody's, particularly the North London rivals in Arsenal, of course, under the deluded Guna first and foremost, is simply wrong. Again, it's not a dig at Poch, it's not good at Spurs fans or the Spurs players, because they're irrelevant to this. It's just a narrative that the media create, to be honest with you, and all these false stats and things, which is simply not true. And I like real narratives, so I'll always talk about these things. But for now, guys, deluded, let me get out of your hair, man. Get in the comments, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish, man. The socials are all in the description. I'm out.